Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights here with Rich Klein. We're talking about hobby vaults, plural, and we're going to bat around some alternatives, express a broader definition of a hobby vault than what you might be thinking. But thanks sponsors, Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. We hear a lot of talk about hobby vaults or a hobby vault. There's more than one. I've looked at it in a broader definition. I have my own vault. My most valuable cards are at the bank. That's a bank vault. But I don't take people down there to see that because, in fact, there's more than one bank, just in case you're wondering. Not you, Rich, but other people. But a vault is intended to mean a safe place for your cards. But if you broaden that, ComC's a hobby vault. It's a safe place for some of my cards. Pretty good cards, too.
Vaults are vaults. And vaults can be either for yourself or you're hosting vaults for other people. Right. Today's definition of vault is almost like the PWCC definition of a vault. We'll sell you an expensive card or you buy an expensive card. Oregon has some different tax structures.
No sales tax, yeah.
You send the card to Oregon and we'll hold the card for you until you tell me it's time to sell or whatever. Or we'll just hold the card for you in a vault.
Fully insured. Again, there's a sales tax advantage too. All the fractionals now, in effect, have vaults. They have to have a safe place to put the cards that if you're part of Alt or Rally Road or Collectible or the different ones that are there, you've got to know that if you paid for 1% of that card or so many shares, that card is real and is being safely taken care of.
And I sent this to some of the guys in Hobby Hotline. There's an art company doing what Collectible and Alt does. They just got a valuation of $1 billion.
The fine art fractional market is huge, right? I had consulting pro bono, but I had a friend that was getting into that, talked about that a few years ago. And I really wasn't thinking about it that much for cards because this predated what they were doing with cards, but it's obvious that you could do it. But I'm not the candidate for a fractional because I've been a collector for a long time. I tangibly want to have the card. However, I am interested in a vault, but I don't want to have a vault that's across the country where I can't see the cards. And so ComC, those are cards. They're mine. I could get them to ship them back to me if I wanted to. They may take a while.
It's getting better on that. So the shipping has gotten better. I look on the message boards, and what started as expected ship date is now a lot of times cut in half. So it's
they're doing a lot better.
Doing a lot better.
Okay. I also have a vault at BGI cards that I have submitted, quite a few, that are in limbo. They're not in limbo. They're in process. In fact, I don't even know if they're in process because I haven't gotten notification that my order has been received, even though they've had it for months now. I think the clock doesn't start until they say...
I have 4 cards I submitted through a friend because I was showing the cards. Oh, I'll take them to BGS for you on Monday. Fine. That was October of last year. Okay. I still haven't gotten...
I don't know if I'm behind you or ahead of you. There's more than one big room of cards there. But that is a form of vault. PSA, if they really have millions of cards in their backlog, and I think that
they do,
they've got some great cards there. So they have to be fully insured. But the problem with them, it's not easy to get those back. I don't think you could call PSA and say, I want my cards back.
No, they're still sitting in boxes.
They're pending. I think they may not have been opened. Now, maybe they can go get them, but I think that'd be tricky.
That's shown the photo on Twitter about the rooms with the boxes that have just stacked them.
Well, they don't want to open them because
then they have
the
to
clock starts.
Right.
The clock starts.
You know, and here's the thing, at least with ComC, maybe you don't get the cards back, but you can always visit them anytime you want. As long as they've been processed, you can take a look at them.
Yeah.
So you can visit them without having to physically see them.
We have 2 auction sponsors, Heritage and Huggins & Scott. I think they handle this issue differently. They have a form of vault. Heritage is doing even more money in coins, I think.
Yeah. Oh, God. They have coins.
Way more in coins. Yeah. One of the assurances that I like about them is they got all their kinks worked out dealing with gold coins so that these very valuable sports cards are not throwing them off. Huggins & Scott more on the volume side, but they each take a different tack on protecting the cards that they have in their quote-unquote vault. So what was your experience with Heritage? I had a story about Huggins & Scott.
I don't really have a story with Heritage, but I know that I've never heard...
They have their act together, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything that was sent to Heritage that disappeared.
Yeah.
When there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. Now, Huggins & Scott, what I understand from them is that they have a vault room. Actually, they have 2 vault rooms, what I'm told, is that the one vault room is the current auction, and then the next vault room is the next auction. And so once they sell everything, then they work off that and they flip-flop the rooms. And so it's all locked up and secure.
The last time I went to the store was about a decade ago.
In the store as well?
Yes, that was in the store. And everything at the time was based out of the store. So they had, let's say, the storefront.
I think
And then the rest of it was dedicated to the auction. I think they do have, as you said, those really special rooms that basically nobody had a key to.
That are secure. That are secure.
That are super secure.
But they will let people in, which I've thought about doing, going up there, not just to bid, but it's like when I went to the first Topps Vault auction, which was fun just to see the stuff. And so if I went to Huggins and Scott, I'd be looking at everything, not just lots that I thought maybe I'll bid on this. And that'd be fun. I think you could charge admission. It's like going to the National is almost like a form of a vault, even though it's multi-ownered and it's not my stuff, but it's all sitting there and you get a chance to walk through the museum, the vault. And frankly, these vaults, I don't think these vaults are going to be open to stroll through and see everybody's stuff.
No,
maybe PWCC does,
Heritage,
or Golden. Are they going to let you see other people's stuff?
Heritage at the National always has that big display of upcoming stuff for their auction.
And that's cool.
Huggins Scott has a showcase with upcoming stuff for their auction. A lot of the big auction houses have their showcases and all that with what's coming up. You're right. We get to see it all in one place. And there's something cool about that.
Larry Fritsch had a vault. He's passed away now. We did an episode about him, but he had a vault. He had a real vault, but then in a barn.
He had a lot of good stuff in the barn.
But the barn was pretty amazing. In fact, now you realize that I think that case of 86, 87 Fleer basketball probably was in the barn.
Yeah.
That's scary to think that more than $1 million.
It never got too hot in Wisconsin.
Cold doesn't.
But those weren't UV coated cards, so you were fine with that.
Yeah. But at any rate, seeing that quote-unquote vault was super cool for me, one of the highlights. Barry Halper had a vault. It was called his basement. And I think he lived in a nice neighborhood with good security. And he had his dry cleaner rack with all of his
that was fun.
Jerseys that went through and these built-in cabinets and things like that. So I think it's a lot of fun to have things like that. But with the values being so much, you have to be very selective in who you show it to. Just like these commercial vaults have to be very secure. They've got.
I tell the story of our mutual friend, and I went to his house. He wanted to show me
the guy toward west of here.
Yes, and I'm fascinated because there's all this college stuff, recent college stuff I've never seen before. There's some old 8x10 photos I've never seen before, and then he pulls out the Wagner that he owns, and I almost didn't want to see it because I don't care. I've seen Wagners. I haven't seen the college sets before. And then that night I'm having dinner with my wife, and she's like, her eyes are glazing. Oh, and he has that card. Oh, really? Yeah. So if people know about a card, that's, okay. It's interesting what interests other people. Yeah. You and I are interested by different things than the normal people.
I mean, it's great to see another Wagner, but it's the long tail, something you've never seen at all. There's one of ones we've seen.
Yes.
Okay, one more here. I think Burbank is a form of vault. They're all Rob and Ryan's and Stevens cards, I think. They own them. The company owns them. But they can get their hands on them pretty quick of amazing cards. Again, more long tail, I think, but just the sheer volume and the ability to say that card is right here, very impressive.
Yes, and what's interesting is now they've also reopened a retail segment of the store. Yeah. And it's not, I want to say it's an order, but not the same order. It's not for, let's say, picking orders up. It's more of a retail element.
Of a showcase.
Of a showcase. Yeah. Or a bunch of showcases. They posted on Facebook a photo the other day of 30 people in the store one night.
That's impressive.
They're doing very well retail.
Yeah. Hats off to Ryan, I think.
Yes, that's
Rob
Ryan.
Was saying Ryan is the man.
Frankly, it was one of the few disappointments at the National, but not seeing Rob and Ryan was one of them.
Me too. Okay. Name the places. This is not total trivia, but name the places you could go. Let's just keep it to America, where you could see $20 million worth of cards. This Dr. Thomas Newman collection that just sold, this guy that I don't think I knew that was in Florida, that Memory Lane sold his cards for 20-something million dollars in a pretty quick auction. So his heirs benefit. But how many places, where would you go to see $20 million or more dollars?
I don't know if it's $20 million.
If you were allowed in.
Forget about being allowed in. I'd start with Nat Turner's Instagram.
Okay, I would agree. There's a good one there.
And I think 20 million is a comparative thing. There are some collectors we know, some we don't. The owner of the Diamondbacks, who owns the PSA Wagner,
Kendrick,
I think that's at least a $10 million card nowadays, if not more.
Marshall Fogel. $20 million mantle, maybe. Yeah. That's just scary. But Rob Veras, there's $20 million worth of cards under that roof. There's $20 million worth of cards, more than that in Seattle.
There's probably
Redmond. Let's call it Redmond.
There's probably $20 million worth of cards at the PSA headquarters right now.
There's more than that. There's more than that at BGS. On the other hand, we're not allowed in to a lot of those things. I don't even know that I could talk my way in, but But
I think you could
they
talk
need
to-
to be secure.
I think you could talk your way into BGS.
I could talk. I've been to BGS. Okay, that I didn't have to talk that hard. But I bet Heritage has $20 million worth of stuff in there. I bet Kenny Golden Auctions has $20 million or more sitting there, being staged, being
I bet you
processed.
the PWCC vault may have $20 million worth of stuff.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
Especially when cards nowadays are 1 in 2 million. You don't need a lot to get the. We used to have,
Get a hernia, David Adams, and blowout.
I think maybe not in single
you
cards,
include
but if you include wax.
unopened.
That's an amazing number. All these people who have $20 million.
It's twice as many as 2 years ago.
It's
Three
maybe,
times
it may
many.
be a lot more than that.
Yeah, because it's just everything went up like crazy. We talked about the ability in this vault to find what you're looking for. We were contrasting Burbank versus ComC and maybe contrasting Heritage versus Huggins and Scott in the sense that Huggins and Scott could say it's in that lot somewhere, but a lot of their shoebox lots, there's some good cards in there, but there's a bunch of other stuff in there. Whereas Heritage is, I'm selling this card, it's a single card lot, it's right here, it's valuable, it's protected, all that. ComC, different orientation than Burbank. In terms of Burbank, everything is linear by the set, by the number, that they can go find it and pull orders that way. But ComC actually has an advantage, I think, in not being able to find the card as much as to be able to pull the order.
Because every card is sequentially numbered. When I ID a card, let's say it's, I think we just, and some of it's because of EPAC that's really goosed it up, but we just identified our 100th millionth card while we were at the National. So I didn't get to do that.
You don't mean the card number on the back of the card. You mean the unique, like a barcoded
Like
card
a barcoded 100 millionth card. It was a Joey
which
Gallo.
Rob doesn't do at Burbank. It's more line of sight inventory. I'm going to go into this stack and pull that card that I need.
If somebody sends him an order for 200 Alex or Joey Cora cards, he will go,
He can beat ComC on that.
yes.
He can clearly beat ComC on that because all the Joey Cora are
They're in sets, but they're easy to figure out. You still have to go to each different year to get the cards because unless he's got Joey
no,
Cora.
he has all in a row. I think of the he doesn't do whatever the year is. They'll all be in a row there. In fact, they're by condition sometimes. But ComC, they can be in different places.
Correct.
The same guy. They're not sorted at ComC.
No, they're just by the
identified.
barcode. Right.
They're identified, and so you just have the number. Whereas Rob, the sorting that he does, would that make more fun for you to go to Rob's place as opposed to ComC? The ComC would be a random walk. If you were able to look through their vault, their inventory, you'd see great card, not so great card, interesting card, different. They could be commingled.
Actually, I went to the smaller warehouse for some changes. I will tell you that I think I'd be more interested in the ComC just because there's a different.
It's eclectic.
It's eclectic.
Yeah. And you wouldn't know what you're going to see. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Whereas with Rob, you'd say, I want to just look through this set, and you start on card number one, you just work your way back. I'm finding that out in my little quote unquote vault, is that people, I think, are going to enjoy the randomness more than the sequential. I had the kid that came over and wanted to see the Troy Aikman cards. He glassed over after about 50.
You gloss over after a while.
And it's just all the same. They were different poses. They were different sets. And I thought, isn't this interesting? And he said, can I have a Coke?
Yeah.
Can I stop now?
Yeah, because how many Troy Aikmans would be overload?
Apparently, it's less than 50. And sorry, Troy.
That's true for Troy. That's true, for everybody.
In other words, what we're saying is that the best vaults are not high volume, they're high quality.
Yeah.
It's more of a museum rather than a basement. It's the exhibits in the Hall of Fame, not the basement of the Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame has backup stock on baseball.
The backup stock, but I was down there, but nobody, who wants to do that besides you and me?
Yeah.
Really
we were a
exciting
focus
cards.
group for the Hall of Fame baseball card room, and everybody had great ideas. And I think I said something to the effect of, look, we're all going to have different great ideas. Other than the 5 cards everybody wants to see, it doesn't matter what you do because everybody will have something different, so just pick some themes and enjoy them.
That's another vault.
Yes.
That has some great stuff. In fact, the vault aspect of the basement, if they were really able to display all that they had, it'd be overwhelming.
Baseball cards are so popular, they've got a room for it now. Which
they do. That's cool. Okay, thanks, Rich. Thanks, everybody. Back again tomorrow.
The man in the house of cards. The man in the house of cards. The man in the house of cards is